Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Today, I want to talk about Interstellar. And this analysis will be full of spoilers about the movie, so if you haven't watched it, do it now. I personally never really felt like I had enough parts together to truly appreciate Interstellar. I thought it was about religion, big human questions like, are we alone in the universe? But while watching the film again, I stumbled on something that got me even more excited. That Interstellar is not about the death of humanity, it is actually about the death of film. But how is that? In Interstellar, the big corporation, NASA, tells Cooper about two plans there are to save mankind. Plan A, in which the people living on Earth get on a huge spaceship that brings them to a new planet. And a second, Plan B, in which the Earth's population dies and a new colonization is started on a new planet. But as we find out later in the movie, Cooper has been tricked and Plan A is a false option.
The equation couldn't reconcile relativity with quantum mechanics. You need more.
More what?
In movie making, there are also these options, shooting film or digital, Plan A and Plan B. When interviewed about change to digital, Christopher Nolan said this.
A transition starts with people offering a new choice, but it finishes with taking the old choice away.
And he's true about that. Many directors today are forced into using digital, simply because there are only a few labs left. Film is doomed to end, just like Earth is doomed to end. Big studios like Paramount, which ironically co-produced Interstellar, even stopped releasing film prints, which makes Interstellar, which is completely shot on film, one that is risen from the death. A big format film, some parts in 35mm, others in full 65mm IMAX.
Well, that sounds cheerful.
Lazarus came back from the dead.
Sure, but he had to die in the first place.
In the last decade, digital film cameras and cinema projection almost completely swallowed the market. Most of the movies that you see today aren't shot on celluloid film anymore, but on cameras with digital sensors, just like in your DSLR.
Your daughter's generation will be the last to survive on Earth.
The term generation also is heavily used for stages of film prints. We then follow the pilot, Cooper, as he leads the crew on this journey for a new home. It has been noticed in the past that the characters in Nolan's films often symbolize members of a film crew. And in this movie, Cooper is definitely the director. The pressure for filmmakers to shoot digitally becomes higher and higher, and the character of Cooper is pressured into his farming job, which he hates. He dislikes digital robots and prefers old ways of communication like Morse code or flying manually without autopilot. Cooper isn't a man for his time.
You're the one who doesn't belong. Born 40 years too late or 40 years too early. My daughter knew it.
And so is Chris Nolan, Interstellar's director. He wouldn't shoot a movie digital at this time because he thinks it's not as good as film yet. His colleague Quentin Tarantino says, it's actually old filmmaking craft. Nolan would be just as good of a filmmaker as he is, just as a potent filmmaker as he is if he was making movies in 1975, or if he was making movies in 1965. Interstellar might be set in the future, but it is celebrating the old classical era of blockbusters, the 70s, 80s, in which large format space films were popular, and in which NASA was on its peak. But now, we've stopped. The last space shuttle has landed and the times of big format blockbusters are over. We have suppressed the achievements of that time, and in a more radical way, the same happens in the movie.
You don't believe we went to the moon?
I believe it was a brilliant piece of propaganda that the Soviets bankrupted themselves, pouring resources into rockets and other useless machines.
Useless machines.
And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet, not tales of leaving it.
Producing on film is more wasteful, and you could also call them useless machines, but film is more human than digital. It keeps us physically connected to the craft of movie making. It adds to the magic of cinema. Interstellar celebrates the era in which going to a movie theater was a spectacle, an event, not just some sort of relaxing method to consume on Netflix.
Well, we used to look up in the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. Now we just look down and worry about our place in the dirt.
So let's look at 3 of the filmic influences of Christopher Nolan. Here is Andrei Tarkovsky's Solaris. The protagonist of the film is a widow, and at the beginning of the film we see him at his childhood home. He leaves it to embark an interstellar mission to an oceanic planet full of water. When he arrives on the station, the situation is out of control, and he gets confronted by his own past, light years away from home.
А потом я уехал, и с тех пор мы больше уже не виделись. Ну вот я тебя люблю. Но любовь — это чувство, которое можно переживать, но объяснить нельзя. Объяснить можно понятие, а любишь то, что можно потерять. Себя, женщину, родину.
At the end of the movie, he finds himself back at his home house. But as the shot pulls out, we see that this is not where it used to be. It's on a different planet. In Interstellar, our main protagonist, Cooper, also is a widow who leaves his home to embark an interstellar mission on which he gets confronted by his past. Cooper lands on 2 planets, both with the theme of water, and at the end of the movie he finds himself at his own house again, which is now on a space station named after his daughter.
It has to mean something.
Love has meaning, yes. Social utility, social bonding, child rearing.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
Another space movie about love is Makoto Shinkai's Voices of a Distant Star. It tells the story of Noboru and Mika. While Mika joins the fight on an interstellar mission against evil aliens, Noboru stays at home. And the only way for them to communicate is text messages, which take years of traveling through space. At the end, we see the result of relative time. Noboru, who waits at home, is grown older, while Mika is still 16. No alien war in Interstellar, but we also have a love connection across the universe, with very basic form of communication. At the end of the movie, Cooper is still the same age, but his daughter Merv is an old lady. And what is an essay on Interstellar without mentioning Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey? A film where we see a giant rotating space station orbiting the Earth, a father chatting with his daughter over the distance of space, a robot on a mission, square-shaped with a human voice, and at the end of the movie, one astronaut that aims to understand more about the mystery of space gets pulled into a stream of lines made out of light. It becomes clear Interstellar is full of influences in film, and in all its parts, it's a celebration of film. The spinning spaceship resembles a film projector spinning with its continuous movement blocking light like the shutter of a projector. The wormhole bends light and appears like a camera lens orbiting in space. 2/3 in the movie, Cooper performs a stunning docking where he has to bring 2 spaceships in identical rotating speed, a maneuver very similar to a changeover of a film projectionist, where one rotating roll of film has to be switched with another in order to run the film smoothly. The antagonist of Interstellar is time. When they are on Miller's planet, time moves quicker compared to on the spaceship orbiting them. A stunning concept, but film does this continuously, squeezing and stretching time. In Gargantia's time, they spent 23 years. In Miller's Planet time, they spent 3.5 hours. And in film time, the length of the sequence was just 10 minutes. Space and time warp in film. Then, in the most spectacular sequence of it all, Cooper gets dragged into the black hole. We see a round sphere. It almost appears as if he is falling into a film projector. The movie calls this Tesseract, a place where time is a physical dimension that he can touch. move forwards and backwards. It's film. Strips of captured light. The visuals directly remind me of a movie barcode that shows the average color of each frame, here the one of Interstellar itself. Remember, Cooper is our director. By touching the strip of time, he can manipulate the story, just like a filmmaker. Either by giving a new piece of information to a character, which he does in Morse code, transmitting information about the singularity to his daughter, Merv, or by creating the setting. Cooper transmits the coordinates of NASA to himself in the past. He sets up the foundation for the entire story that we just watched. Just like a screenwriter, he starts from the end of the film. The higher dimensional beings that Cooper describes. It's us. Interstellar is meant to leave questions unanswered, to be Kafkaesque. An artwork that straddles fantasy and reality and keeps a sense of striving even in the face of bleakness. Hopelessly and full of hope at the same time. Interstellar is about the end of the Earth and the end of film, yet it celebrates celluloid like no other current production. With the movie being shot all on film, it is a literal wage. A wage against the dying of the light.